Hello, good afternoon. You can talk to me via the chat box provided to you. Good afternoon. So, because of the recording purposes, as you would have been told, you cannot unmute, but you can talk to me via the chat, right? Okay. So, first of all, welcome everybody, and thank you for joining APM with us. Let me introduce myself, and I'll ask all of you to introduce yourself. Okay. So I'm CA ACCA Avanti. So I've secured a rank in APM, as you might know. I've secured AIR2 and World Rank 10 in APM. I've been teaching for the last 3 years, and I've been associated with Symbiosis, PMCC, Vadia, MIT, VG, and specializing in ACCA. I've taught more than 8 or 9 subjects of ACCA, so I have a bunch of subjects that I've dealt with. And this batch, I'll be dealing with APM. Okay. Let me explain you a bit about the batch, and then I can request you to introduce yourself. The batch will be spanning till around mid-August, that is complete 2 months. After the batch, a couple of classes will be taken for doubt solving and mock tests so as to prepare you for the exams. 95% of the classes will be on weekends. 2 or 3 classes might be taken on the weekdays due to our schedule. So I'll talk to you, collaborate with you, and we'll decide the timing of the weekday classes. Weekend classes will have the same timing, which is 3 to 7 p.m. In case of any problem on any weekend, it'll be informed before if any class has to be cancelled, right? I'll explain you the structure, how we're going to go ahead with our classes. You might be familiar, there are 2 books that you have for APM. Can you tell me which books you have? You might have them in ebooks or in physical copy. Right, no, those are the 2 publications. Which are the 2 books you have? So one you have is the study text, and one you have is the exam kit, right? The study text is basically a textbook, and the exam kit is where all the questions will be. As you can see, the syllabus is divided into some 5 sections. So what I'm going to do is, after every section that we complete, I'm going to go to the exam kit, solve a bunch of questions from there together, and a bunch of them will be given for you for homework. Like this, we're going to proceed, right? Okay. All good so far? Any questions before I ask you? Perfect. Okay. So I can see about 6 members. I would request all of you to introduce yourself so that since it's online, we really don't get to meet each other. So I'll get an idea of our students. Okay. So I can see Dheeraj Gupta. Can you please introduce yourself? Hello. Okay. Is this your first paper with BG? Okay, great. Welcome. Gurjeet Kaur. Thank you. Hi. Okay, wonderful. Welcome, Gurjeet. iPhone, could I please have your name and can you please rename it to your name? Oh, okay. So why have you joined from two devices? Uh, she'll type by then, Sparsh, you can start. Okay. Sparsh. Okay, we'll move on. Tanveer. Wonderful. Okay. Are you into practice or are you doing the job? I read that you're holding a COP, so are you into practice? Right, great. Vishal? Hi. Oh, okay, lovely. Welcome, Vishal. Hello, Sparsh. Okay, great. Thank you. Right. So, shall we kickstart? Everybody? Uh, yes. Okay. Let me tell you a bit about how we're going to go ahead with the classes. Okay. Uh, I'm going to make PPTs for the concepts. We're going to take aid of some of the textbooks, matlab the concepts in the textbooks. We're going to use some videos and it's going to be interactive. I'm aware that you're not able to unmute, so it will be interaction through chat, but it's not going to be one-sided for sure. Okay. As you can see, I'm not very well, so I may take interruptions beach mein, but we'll continue as much as we can. Okay. So let's begin with the first chapter of APM. Okay. I would request you, I believe everybody of you has a textbook, at least an ebook. Is there anybody who doesn't have a textbook? Okay. Do you have an ebook, Tanvi? Okay. Gurjeet, you also don't have an ebook? All right. Okay. So, okay. By when can both of you get it? Okay. So I think most of you do not have a book. Okay. That's fine. I hope you all can arrange it by next Saturday. Exactly. It's absolutely necessary to have your own textbooks. Okay. Also, from tomorrow itself, I'm expecting to start with the exam kit. Okay. So bring your textbooks as well as your exam kit as soon as possible. Okay. I do have my textbook alongside, so I'll share it for now. But from the next lecture, I want you to all to have your own notes. Okay. Let me just set it up and we get started. After every class, around 10 minutes will be given where I'll ask the host to allow you to unmute and you can directly ask me your doubts. All right. And of course, apart from that, you already have my number. My number is the one where I've said join for today's class. And you can reach out to me over WhatsApp. Okay. I wouldn't share my email ID, but you can definitely reach out to me via WhatsApp. Okay. Right. Let's start. Okay. So is the screen visible? Perfect. So the first chapter is planning and control. Okay. Before I start, I just need an understanding. Has anybody in our class appeared for SBL, Strategic Business Leadership? If you have, just put a yes. Anybody of you who has appeared for SBL? Right. Okay. So a lot of concepts of APM and SBL are common. So that's why I was asking. But it's fine. If you haven't, it's okay. Right. The first chapter is planning and control. Okay. Now, to start with, we have been given an idea that a business has three levels. Okay. Three levels of management. So as we know, the first level is what we call as a strategic. The second is a tactical, and third is the operational, right? Now, all of you are working, so I believe all of you would be aware of all these three levels. Let us shed some light on what is their meaning. Okay, I'll just escape the presentation so that you can see the entire content. Okay, right. Now, the first one, which is just a second. Okay, the first one, which is strategic. Okay, I've taken an example of a construction company, right? So in our vicinity, let's say you take Paran Space Schemes or you take DSK. Okay, now the strategic objective is to think long term, that is the next 10 years or the next 20 years, and to think about the whole organization. So at the board of directors level, which is the CEO or the CFO, they would consider where are the projects existing, correct? Where all can they expand into new areas? They would consider all the ongoing construction sites, not just in one particular area, correct? So therefore, at a strategic level, you're going to have a holistic view about the entire organization. The second element is to consider the internal and external environment. Very important. So internal environment could be the workers, the availability of raw materials, achievement of our goals, that is in terms of our profitability, in terms of our customer satisfaction, etc. External, what could be the external factors that affect a construction company? So in recent times, two significant factors that have affected is the demonetization, then the pandemic. It could be the inflation rates, which affect the borrowing capacity of individuals. It could be the locality at which your construction site is. It could be the current choices of the customers, so on and so forth. All of this has to be considered at a strategic level, right? Next is a tactical level. Now, a tactical level for a construction company could be based on geographical areas. So, a department handling the construction sites in Pune, a department handling one in Mumbai, one in Delhi, one in Chennai, so on and so forth, right? At a tactical level, your work is to make sure that the assets and resources are distributed properly. What do I mean by this? Let's say the raw material is distributed properly over the 10 different sites which are currently in progress in Pune. The workers are properly allocated, correct? And it is generally for a short term because a construction site may take about 3 to 4 years to complete, right? So generally for a short term. Last is operational. Operational is focusing on the small broken down tasks, which are generally mundane or routine in nature. So now in my example, can you point out what could be an operational level? In this construction company example, what would an operational level do? Anybody? Very good. Correct. What else? In this context, the operational work is to focus on one project at a time. So maybe this is an example of a building under progress The operational department would concern with actual construction of the building, making sure that the floors are constructed, the walls are being built, the lifts, etc. So actual construction of a building, which are tasks which are repetitive and routine in nature, where no significant decisions need to be made. This is what the operational level entails into. Making sense? Yeah. Now, next we talk about the control. Okay. So first is the strategic control. Now in APM, one of the most important thing you need to understand, first you need to understand what is the ethos of APM. Okay. The paper says advanced performance management. Okay. What does this exactly mean? This means that varied kinds of performance go on in a company on a day-to-day basis. We have marketing functions and purchase functions and production functions and sale functions, etc. All of these perform towards a common goal or objective of the company. Who decides this goal? Generally, the board of directors and the top management, which is the strategic level. Your job in this paper is to understand that they would have given you the performance. Okay. Your job is to understand whether the performance is aligned to the strategic goals. Is the performance helpful to achieve your strategic goals? That's all you need to understand in this paper. Making sense? So now, the strategic level is going to monitor the implementation of the strategy to check whether the objectives are being met. So here, the construction company board of directors are going to make sure whether the expansion is being happening, whether all the construction sites are being run smoothly, whether their goals and objectives are being fulfilled or not. Let's say they have promised their stakeholders increase in revenue of 10% over the next year. Unless each construction site is being done well, unless it is being done qualitatively, unless there is a demand from customers for your construction site, for your houses, would this goal be achieved? Definitely not. So unless a tactical and operational level don't do their work well, this goal can never be fulfilled, correct? So operational level makes sure that the performance is aligned with the objectives, right? It does not take any strategic decisions. Let me reiterate, like in this example, both the the operational level is not into taking any kind of strategic decisions, right? All right. Now, the conflict between strategic and operational levels. Now, I'm sure all of you are already working, so you could be at the operational and tactical levels. Some of you fast heading towards a strategic level. Okay. Generally, there could be some kind of miscommunication or lack of synergy between the strategic and the lower levels. 3 reasons are noted in our textbooks. From your experience, can you give me an example for each one of them? Hello? Yes, I'm so sorry. We do have an example. Requirement not clear by management. That is a good example of poor communication. Non-communication is what expected from people at the operational level, which in turn help in the business objective. So I think what both of you mean is unclear communication of what is required from you. Absolutely right. And what about inadequate performance management? What do we mean by this? And how would that lead to a conflict? Delay in decision making, working less important tasks, than to focus priorities, absolutely. Or else if there is no system of recording, maintaining, understanding, keeping budgets, checking the variances, then even though goals and objectives are planned, there is no way to manage these and to have a hold on them, correct? So these are the reasons why there could be a problem and an area of conflict between the strategic and the operational level, right? Okay, how do we solve this issue? Now there is a simple answer to this problem, which is SMA, Strategic Management Accounting. Strategic Management Accounting is a record keeping to check whether organizational activities are in line with your goals and objectives of the made by the strategic level. So as I told you, it's very important that this is a internal process. Generally, APM is not to show to the stakeholders, shareholders, or anybody outside the organization. It is just an internal check to see whether we are striving to make sure that our goals and objectives are fulfilled or not. Right? So it reports on the tactical and operational performance. So basically, your tactical and operational performance should help to achieve your corporate strategy. It is broken down into 4 parts linked to the corporate strategy. So I have taken the example of Serum Institute. During the last 2 years, Serum Institute had a fundamental goal of making sure that vaccines are adequate for the Indian public requirement, correct? First to India, and then they went out to outsource, to export it to the outside countries. So linked to the corporate strategy, what was the utmost priority for Serum in the last 2 years? To make sure that the vaccines were developed fast enough and to suffice the need for the entire population, correct? Then, forward looking. What do I mean by forward looking? Now, vaccines are not directly distributed in the public. They are first checked on animals, then they are checked on volunteers, which are humans, and then they go out in the public. Feedbacks are taken from them that these are side effects, these are things which can be rectified. So forward looking, you should not get stuck in your product, but always continuous improvement, always strive to make perfections in your product, to improve in your product. Also, as the first dose was let out in the public, many people reported some side effects. Some of them reported severe cases. So making sure that you work on them for the next doses. Monitoring the changes to the environment. Okay, this is also very crucial. So we know that after the first wave, there were a couple of variants that came, like the Delta, Omicron, making sure that your vaccines are not just immune to COVID, original virus, but also its variants. And then the financial and the non-financial factors. So along with profit making, the utmost responsibility here was to provide vaccination at affordable cost. Also, the government played an important role in this, but it was also the responsibility of Serum to have social responsibility balanced with profit making, right? So SMA is about 1, 2, 3, and 4. All 4 elements. Are you all with me so far? Is this clear? Yes. You will have to bear with me for the next 2 days. Hopefully by next weekend I'll be fine. So are we good to go? What about others? Okay, good. So I think you can see the textbook. Is that correct? Great. Okay. So now I'm going to take you to activity 1. Just give me a second. Along with the theory, we're also going to do the activities given the textbook. Okay. Activity 1. Okay. So what I want you to do is, first we'll discuss the activity. Just give me a second. This is activity 1, I believe. Yeah. Okay. So Hydra is a bicycle retailer which has a significant presence in the south of England. Each location has a manager who is responsible for day-to-day operations and is supported by an admin assistant. All other staff are involved in retailing operations. Directors are currently preparing for a financial evaluation of an investment of 2 million in a new IT system. They are concerned that the suboptimal decisions being made are because the current system is not giving appropriate information. Discuss the 3 levels required to assist in the decision making and give 2 examples of information which would be required at 3 levels. So first, I want you to think about examples of what kind of information would be needed at the strategic, tactical, and operational level for a bicycle retailer. Is there any question in the question? Any doubt in the question? Great. So I'll give you 5 minutes. Think about 3 examples of information required at each of the levels for a bicycle retailer. Start. Right, great. We have an answer. What about the rest? I want everybody to participate. Huh? Dheeraj, Sparsh, Tanveer, Gurjeet. First answer is at the operational level, ensuring that the production level are as per the plan. Minimum quality rejection. Great. Think about for the others. You have 2 more minutes. I want to hear from everyone, okay? Operational is the inventory flow, so they can be sale based. Great. Strategic availability of stock. Okay. Strategic is sale of bicycle in different seasons and the future revenue cash flow. Nice. Tactical breakup of sales, ROI per region. Okay. ROI would generally be something which is a performance metric. So on the higher levels, tactical and strategic. Okay. Tactical. If you're saying about regions, ROI would be tactical. Correct. So tactical is correct. And what about operational and strategic? So we are remaining from Sparsh and Tanveer. Sparsh, Tanveer, what do you think? All right, okay. Production level to be maintained, IT, IT control as per the need and the strategic. Nice. Okay. Now, whenever you answer such a question, great. What we'll first do is give a short introduction about each of the levels. Okay. So strategic one is where we have a long-term view about how the business may be conducted, right? It is very much dependent upon the understanding of the internal as well as the external factors. In a bicycle industry, we could focus on new services or new products that we get, correct? We can focus on, as you said, the budget versus actual performance. We can also focus on what the competitors are doing and how can we maintain our edge over them. Then you said we can, sale of bicycle, we can also focus on how we are expanding in our revenue, in our profit line. We can also think of diversify. They have said that we have a major presence only in South of England. So we can also think of diversifying. Now, what we're doing here is that, see, whenever you pick up a part of the answer from the question, the examiner is impressed because he understands that your answer is not generic. You have actually read and understood the question. Okay. So try to pick up a part of the answer from the question itself. Okay. The second one being the tactical information. These are for shorter terms and for usually focused on the allocation of resources and the assets, correct? So here the tactical information could be if you want to hire additional staff, the ROI performance of a particular region, as you have said, then are the resources being properly utilized? Is there any wastage? How is the efficiency, correct? All of this will be the tactical level. The operational would be on the implementation of the plans, correct? So as you said, how many bicycles have we sold per week or per month? What is the customer satisfaction? How many complaints have we received, correct? All of these will be for the operational level. Okay. Yes. Any question? Can we go ahead? Okay. Are we clear with the SMA, everybody? This is a very important concept, SMA. Okay. Now, in my textbook, that is my physical copy, there were two activities, 1 and 2. They have been merged for your ebook for only one. Okay. So therefore, you have only one. We can continue with the next concept. Okay. Now, before we do benchmarking, your textbook has SWOT analysis. So we'll cover SWOT, Bcg, Porter's generic strategies, 6 capitals, and that would be it for this chapter. Okay. Just a second. Okay. So I believe everybody is aware of SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunity, threat, correct? Anybody of us who has never heard this? Okay, I think not. Now I want to know from you, if you had to explain to someone who doesn't know SWOT analysis in 2 sentences, how would you do it? I just want 2 sentences. You have to explain SWOT to someone who doesn't understand it in 2 sentences. How would you? Nice. Analysis of all the pros and cons of business. What else? Knowing what you're good at and what you can benefit from it. Knowing what you're weak at and how it can harm you. Nice. That includes your benefit, opportunity, your strength, your weakness, and your threat. Okay, I think sounds good. So as we can see, SWOT is basically understanding your strengths. Your strengths come from your uh, we can say your USPs, things that you can do better than others, which we in business call as competitive advantage. Opportunities are given from the outside world, where you can employ your strength. Weaknesses are again internal. It could be that you're weak at a particular task or a particular process or a particular product. And threats also come from the external environment. A job of business is to make sure that you maximize on your strengths, you try to eliminate your weaknesses, you try to let the threats, like pandemic is a threat. So you try to let the threats affect you to the minimum and you exploit your opportunities to the best. Okay. On these lines, I have a video that I would very much like to share with you. Okay. Just give me a second. As I told you, for some concepts, I'm taking aid of videos. Okay. So I have taken a case study. A video of this is a video of the case study of Starbucks ka Swot. Okay. All of us know about Starbucks. Great. Okay. Just a second. Yeah, I do have the subtitles. If you have any issue, let me know. Okay. Starbucks is an international coffee chain which has originated from 1971. Okay.
Okay, great. So in this lesson,
You can't hear? Okay. Now let's try again.
brand recognition. Starbucks has been proclaimed the most recognized coffee brand.
Still no? Okay. Just a second.
Quite an advantage regarding
Let's try again.
the Starbucks brand is one offering of a differentiated product to customers.
Now I think you can.
Clients have expressed they love the atmosphere in Starbucks coffee houses. They can use free Wi-Fi.
Shall I start again or should we continue? Okay.
Clients have expressed they love the atmosphere in Starbucks coffee houses. They can use free Wi-Fi and enjoy the coffee drinking experience to the fullest. The company owns thousands of outlets around the world, and its clients can find it even when traveling overseas. That's a strong advantage, as it ensures loyal clients can remain such even overseas. And finally, Starbucks supply chain management ensures the quality of coffee served to customers is excellent. The company chooses its suppliers carefully, which improves the quality of its products and ensures clients receive a super coffee experience. This is another choice in sync with its differentiation strategy. Okay, very good. Let's take off our rosy glasses and consider some of the firm's weaknesses. One could argue Starbucks offers the same product in all countries where it operates. It does not customize it according to the different tastes of people in different geographies. For some customers, this is an issue, and they prefer competitor products tailored to their specific geographical preferences. In addition, Starbucks has a premium price policy, which is not in line with most customers' expectations. Not all countries have enough middle and high-income class individuals who can afford to pay extra for their coffee.
Nice. Dheeraj, let's discuss it after the video, okay? Nice.
Weakness number 3 would be the high employee turnover that the chain's coffee shops have. It is difficult to serve coffee as a premium product when the company's baristas have been on the job for only a couple of weeks. In terms of opportunities, we can say the following. Starbucks can access new countries easily. It simply has to apply its existing business model in these new geographies. Emerging markets can be a great source of growth for the company. Starbucks has also entered agreements within the entertainment industry and partnered with movie-producing companies. That can be a great opportunity for the firm, too. One of the biggest threats for Starbucks is the saturation of the American market, which is where most of its outlets are located. Consumers are increasingly invested in healthier lifestyle, and some substitute products are better positioned to capture the attention of the health-conscious clientele. Okay, we'll stop here. This is what a SWOT analysis looks like in practice. The depth of the observations included in the analysis depends on the information we have about the company. I'm sure an industry
Right. Yes, Dheeraj. Can you tell us more about the marketing strategy? Writing the name incorrect. What do you mean? Okay. Writing the name incorrect makes them popular. Okay. Could you explain more? Right. And that is how they captured the names of the customers. Right. Excellent. So I think correct. So I think most of us are familiar with the model of Starbucks, which is and which is why their SWOT analysis would be quite clear. Okay, so basically SWOT analysis, as you said, is over the years what are the weaknesses developed by the company, therefore what are the opportunities that possessed them, and what are the threats that they suffer. Right? Any explanation required? Are we good to go? Okay, perfect. Yes, great. Now, the next concept in line. Okay, before I explain the next concept, one more detail that I wanted to share is in the middle of each class, we take a break in order because we have long classes about 4 hours. So generally, I'm planning to take a break around 4:30 because we'll have 1.5 hour content, and after that, we can have 1.5 to 2 hour content. Okay, if you wish, we can also take it 5 regularly in classes so that afterwards, generally our attention spans drop or we get bored or tired. So afterwards, class will be shorter. For today, I'm going to keep it at 5 because we have actually started our content at 3:30. Okay, so for today, I'm going to keep it at 5. The next classes we can decide to get. Okay, now let's continue. The next part given in your textbook is Bcg matrix. Okay, have any of us heard about Bcg matrix? Any clue what it means? I believe that you've not done SBL. So anywhere else that you have heard about it? Okay, I believe no. Right. Now, let me tell you what the Bcg matrix is. Okay. The Bcg matrix was developed by a group called as Boston and Consultancy Group, which originated in the 1970s. The Bcg matrix was an excellent tool to understand what is your current positioning in the market so as to help you to take steps on how to improve your position. What do I mean? For any matrix, as you can imagine, there are 4 quadrants, okay, or 4 4 angles. Okay, the Bcg matrix has 2 parameters. First is how fast is the market growing. Okay, for some markets, the market could be saturated. There is no more possibility of growth. Okay, an example could be, for example, salt market or essentials market like groceries. Now, people would consume as much as they require, right? So therefore, there couldn't be a scope of exponential growth in these. There could be some markets which could be saturated or could be dropping They could be getting instant. One of the examples is with apps like Cam Scanner. Very rarely people take a Xerox these days, correct? So Xerox market could be one which is diminishing, or with the invent of smartphones. Nobody is using those Nokia phones. So Nokia phones have become long extinct. Examples like these. While some markets could be very fast growing. Examples could be cryptocurrencies or investment in AI, artificial intelligence, correct? So first is understanding how fast or slow the market is growing. That is the car market, the food and groceries market, the entertainment market, textile industry, etc. Then you're going to check what is your relative market share. Okay, now please understand the word relative is used. It's not your market share, but the relative market share. So can anybody guess we are relating it to what? Relative to what? Peers. Nice. Anybody can be more specific? That's on the correct lines. But what exactly do we mean by relative? Okay, so relative means our share as compared to a competitor. Okay, that is what relative means. So what do I mean in this? Let's take the example of car, that is automobile industry, right? Let's say in automobile industry in India currently, Tata is the one leading the market. Okay, let's say we need to see the financials, but let's say, okay, who are the other players in the market? We can have Suzuki. Who else? Correct. Then we have the foreign branch. Correct. Now let's assume, okay, great. Let's assume that in a year, the sales of automobiles in India are 1600 crores. This is a fictitious figure, but let's say there are 1600 crores, out of which Tata, being the biggest player, sells around 520 crores of cars. So what is Tata's share? Tata's share is 520 divided by 1600. So out of total cars sold in India in this year, 32% of the cars are sold by Tata. Are you all with me so far? Yes. Okay. Good. Now, we are the head of Suzuki company. We are not CEO of Tata. We are the CEO of Suzuki company. Suzuki company sold 212 cars in this year. So out of the total cars sold, Suzuki company sold 13%. But this is the market share. We're not interested in the market share. We're interested in the relative market share. So if Suzuki has a market share of 13 and if Tata has a market share of 32, what is the comparative percentage of Suzuki? Suzuki is 40%, having 40% relative share as compared to the market leader. Okay, so as compared to the market leader, the relative market share of Suzuki is 40%. Can anybody tell me what is exactly the use of finding out relative share? We understood how to find it out, but can you guess why exactly would this be helpful? Any guess? How exactly would this be helpful? Finding out relative market share. Exactly. Excellent. To find out where exactly we are standing currently as compared to our top competitor, to the leader in the market, right? Let's say Suzuki had only 23 cars sold. Then they have only 14%. So 14 divided by 32. I'm sorry, I've made a mistake, I believe. 1.4%. 1.4 divided by 32. So it has just 4% as compared to the market leader. While let's say Suzuki sold 490 cars in this year. So almost there to the market leader, right? So this would 93%. This would have an idea of how close or far we are as compared to the company which is doing the best in our market currently. That is the help of relative market share. Okay. So are we very clear of market growth and relative market share, everybody? Perfect. Now, for this, once we have made this matrix, market growth and relative market share, all of the products can be put into the 4 categories listed here. Okay, let me explain you the 4 categories. We'll check out a video and then I'll explain. The video would explain you the basic meaning of BCG, and then I'll explain you. Just a second. Yeah.
The Boston Consulting Group matrix is often used to determine where a business currently sits in relation to other businesses in regards to its market share and that market's growth. Where your businesses fall on this graph will make them a dog, cash cow, star, or question mark. Putting your different businesses into these categories gives a holistic picture and helps guide where best to invest. But how do we construct a BCG matrix? Well, let's take a look at how to plot it. The 2 axes are market share, which is the percentage of the market that the product serves, and market growth, which is...
Now, here it has been listed market share, but for our explanational textbook, we have taken relative market share. Okay, so don't confuse what is applicable to us as relative market share.
how fast that market is currently growing. But what do the different quadrants mean? The dog quadrant means your business has a small share of a market, which has a small growth and follows the idiom, worked like a dog. It's difficult to argue for investing in something with minimal growth, and as a result, these businesses are often liquidated. Cash cows, on the other hand, are a much safer place for your business to be in. Having a large market share with small market growth usually means large returns for little investment, which means you can milk it for all it's worth. Stars are bright and shiny and on their way up. They can attract investment and help a business to gain or maintain a dominant position in a space of large market growth. Which leaves us with question marks. These products don't have significant market share, so generate little profit. But unlike dogs, they're in a high growth market. Which means with analysis and the right investment, question marks could become cash cows or even stars. While the BCG Matrix's nomenclature isn't exactly orthodox, the graph helps visualize various companies' performances and offers a sound starting point for analysis.
Right. So was this helpful? Okay, good. Good. I'm glad to hear. So let's get back to our graph. Let me sum it up once more for you. First is the star. A star is someone who is in a very fast growing market. So we know from the industry that the industry itself is booming. It's on the rise of attracting more investors, attracting more customers, and sales more growth. In this type of environment where the growth is high, your share is also high. Okay. So you are one of the prominent companies in a very fast growing market. So as they say, you have a lot of potential, a lot of opportunities, linking it back to SWOT, because as it is, a market has great potential of booming fast. And in it, you are also one of the prominent examples, which makes you a star, right? In a question mark, as you can see, the market is growing very fast. So it's clear that this is a booming market with a lot of potential. In this booming market, however, you are struck. You are on the lower end of companies. So with right analysis, with right effort, with right direction, you can get converted into a star. You can get converted into one of the prominent players in a very fast growing market. That is what a question mark is, right? Going below is a cash cow. As I said, there are some markets which are saturated, like they gave an example for popcorn. Now, it can't be so that in a year, the popcorn demand has grown by 120%, and then by next year by 34%. What I mean is it can't grow this exponentially. Popcorn demand more or less will be more or less proportional to the demand of movies, and it won't grow or drop significantly, correct? The market growth is more or less saturated. In this, if you are one of the prominent examples, prominent players, then what you do is that you being one of the prominent player, you know that you're going to get maximum revenue from this because you are completely set. Your business is set. You're a huge brand in this market. Now you have to make the most of it. So that is why they use the proverb milking of cows. Why? Because in the olden days, having a cow was profitable, right? You could get milk from it and you could sell it. So milk it as much as possible. What is a dog? As they showed that store appropriately, a dog is the one who is in a very poor market, which is already saturated, already not growing, and you are also not performing well. So you are already incurring losses in a market which is also does not have much growth potential. Generally, these businesses are liquidated, correct? They don't have a very promising future and they are liquidated. Okay, now what I want you to do is, as you can see to your right, sorry, you have a couple of examples. As you can guess, for the first time, each one of them can be put into either a star, a question mark, a dog, and a cash cow. Okay, same with the second example. Each one of them, the first one is 5. So as you can guess, each one of them has 2 examples, one of the category, and the second has 1 example for each one of them. I want you to try which of these fit into each categories. Before that, are we all clear with the concept? And are we clear what I'm asking of you right now? Wait. First, we'll just let everybody say. Great. Okay. So don't let your answers right away. Do both the examples. I'm giving you 5 minutes. And then I want an answer from everybody. But while you tell me your answer, I'm going to stop sharing. See, right now you can see written as Dheeraj Gupta to everyone. I want you to only send it to me. Okay. So you can see my name here. Only send it to me and I'll stop sharing. So as I don't want to disclose everybody's answers to everybody, I want everybody's answers, then we'll discuss. Format is clear? Good. Please start with both the examples. So I've already received an answer from Sparsh. Everybody, have you taken down the examples? I've stopped the sharing. Have you taken down the examples? Okay. So once you're done with, okay. So Sparsh, is there any option to delete your answer? Because if I share, okay, I'll minimize the screen. It's okay. I'll minimize the screen. When I tell, only then send your answers. Okay. Just a second. Don't send your answers right away. I'll just give everybody 2 minutes and then you can send your answers. Okay. Yeah. Movie sequels are any kind of movie sequels. Okay. Not a particular brand. So okay, I believe our time is up. Everybody, please put in your answers in the chat. Don't forget to put the setting, not to everyone, but to only me. So you can see Avanti is over here. There, just send it to me directly. Okay. I'm stopping the sharing. Please send your answers only to me. Great. I've received from Sparsh. I've received from Tanveer, from Gurjeet. I'm yet to hear from Dheeraj and Vishal. Okay, we'll discuss. Dheeraj is also answered. Vishal, do you need any help? Vishal K. All right, let's start. Okay, I'm glad to see the answers. Many of them are matching with what I'm thinking. So let's discuss together. If you don't agree with an answer, we can definitely, you pointed out, we'll discuss it. Okay. First is Geo. Okay. Geo is one which, when one declared in India, the telecom industry is, we can say that it is growing because with the number of consumers increasing, the number of cards sold will also increase, but it is not a highly growing market. So it is somewhere to medium to high growth. So if it is medium growth, I've categorized it as a high one. Out of this, Geo is definitely a prominent player, right? Till date, when with others being merged, we also have other competitors, but Geo is definitely one of the prominent players. So is it safe to put it into star? Yeah. Correct. So Geo, Geo would be a star. Next one is a railway. Okay. Now, in terms of Indian Railway, the market growth is not much. Why is it not much? Because for years together, railways are a necessity slash a convenience slash a mode of transportation. So it's not that it's a booming market. Okay, it could be a stable or a saturated market, but definitely not a booming one. In this, being on the rail transportation, Indian Railways have a monopoly, right? There have been many discussions and upcoming projects where private partnership is allowed. But right now, Indian Railways have a complete monopoly. So in a saturated market, they are the only player, meaning 100% market share. That definitely makes them a cash cow, right? So therefore, now as far as government is concerned, government does not milk it in a way because they know that they want to keep it affordable. Therefore, the general classes are keeping it affordable. But how are Indian Railways milked then? Can anybody tell me? If I'm saying it's a cash cow, how does how does the Indian government milk the Indian Railways? That is, take out profit from them. What do you think? Did you understand the question, or is there any doubt? Okay, so milking of Indian Railways is done with the help of first class and AC tickets, correct? That is where the government can keep the fares more and thus generate profit from, thus milk them. So in this way, the Indian government milks the railways through the first class and AC travelers. They can't do so with the general class, but definitely with the first class. Everybody with me on this? Excellent. Then on, we have Skype. Okay. Now, Skype is one where, see, Skype falls under technology, correct? Communication via the internet. Yeah. Now, especially in the last 2 years, this market has grown exponentially. We have Google Meet, we have Zoom, we have Teams, which have grown exponentially due to need of online communication. Having said that, in such a market, Skype has significantly failed. It could be because the interface was not good or because people found better means, whatever the reason is. But it is definitely a question mark in a fast growing market. Right. What about TV? Now, TV is interesting. Somebody put a question mark before TV. I want to ask all of you again. What do you think about TV? In which category would TV fall? Right. No, I mean, would it be a star, a question mark, like that? A dog, a question mark, okay. A dog, okay. Okay, now I think TV is very interesting, and let me know if you agree with this. Especially in a country like India, TV can be very clearly separated into two kinds of demographical population. One is the older group, and one is youth. With the older group, now they may not necessarily watch TV, but they watch the series and the soap operas on the laptops or the iPads, but basically TV. Okay. Now, therefore, the demand is quite high for uh, older population. We need to understand what is TV. So, TV is basically news and the soap operas. So, according to you, is this market growing very fast or is this saturated? This market of news and soap operas. What do you think? Is it a saturated market or is it growing fast? Definitely saturated. Very good. So in such a saturated market, for the older population, I think the soap operas and so could be a cash cow, correct? Because once you hook them up, they keep watching the repeat telecast. So with the older population, TV could be a cash cow. For youth now, can you answer? It's definitely a dog, correct? Because we spend so much of time watching series and online content. So we do have time, but we definitely don't watch soap operas. Okay. So for youth, it's definitely a dog. So TV can be differentiating according to the population that we're addressing. Last is movie sequels. So when I made this presentation, I just stumbled upon something in the Marvel series, correct? So such series are a clear cash cow because there are so many superheroes. Sorry to say if there are any Marvel or DC fans, but there is not much complete innovation or invention made in that area. Having said that, every time there is a sequel, there are theaters house full and there is so much of buzz because it's a very successful product. So these sequels are generally made only to milk it to the maximum possibility. So therefore, it is a cash cow. Everybody agrees? Good to go. Any difference you had in all four? Great. Okay. Next one is Maggie. Okay. Now Maggie is again interesting. I had put Maggie into star, but we can also put it into cash cow, depending upon what the perception is. So if we say that the market is saturated, Maggie is definitely a very successful product, saying cash cow. because Maggi does come up with different flavors, but again, there's no significant difference in the taste of Maggi. So therefore, it could be a cash cow, or it also could be a star. But I would more likely put it into cash cow. Okay. A fax machine. What do you think about a fax machine? Dog, for sure. Obviously, it is completely not used today. Definitely dog. If anybody ever has a fax machine today, it should definitely be discarded. Indian phones. Now, I was surprised by the results of Indian phones. You said star. What do others think? Indian phones? Cash cow. Okay. Question mark. Okay. Okay. I personally think it should be a question mark. Okay. Hear me out and let me know what you think. Definitely with the pandemic and so much of work being done at home, our reliance on gadgets and electronic devices has significantly increased. So phones are generally on the higher side of market growth for sure. In that, with the Chinese goods being banned in our country, we are getting slowly converted to Indian phones. But having said that, it is if there was no ban, let's assume that if there was no ban in our country, according to the quality and according to the pricing, would you place a Vivo or an MI or a OnePlus 2? I think OnePlus is also not Indian. Or would you go for a Lenovo or any kind of Indian company? What do you think? Even Samsung is made in India, but it is not an Indian company. So would you go for a local Indian brand or would you go for these brands? Correct. I think the natural choice is go for outside brands because they're cheaper in price and they are better in quality. So for a fast growing market, I think again, don't confuse it with Samsung. I don't refer to Samsung here as an Indian phone because it is not a complete Indian brand. Okay, I'm referring to Leno or Micromax, those kinds of brands, which are definitely lagging in the phone race. So definitely it's a question mark. Something we need to improve in order to scale up our sales, right? And last is cigarette. What do you think about cigarettes? Yeah, cigarettes are a clear example of cash cow. In fact, any kind of addiction for that matter is a cash cow. While there is no scope of exponential growth, there is also very less risk of decrease. A very good example is Kingfisher. Kingfisher had a very prominent example of bad reputation due to its frauds in its airlines. Having said that, if you see the Kingfisher alcohol business, it is going quite intact. That is an example that even though the reputation had been so tarnished, the alcohol business was considerably less affected. So the risk of the market growing, market getting very less sales is also not there in addictions. So addictions are a very easy cash cow for companies because they know that once people hook onto them, we can milk them to the maximum possible extent. Okay, cigarettes are for sure cash cows. Right. Can I go ahead? Are we clear, everybody? Good. I'm very glad with the answers too. Okay. Now, if there is a star, okay, in high growth markets, what we're going to check is whether our growth is also there. It's natural that if our market is growing, we should grow along with it. So if it is a high growth market, our parameters will be, is my revenue growing? Is my profit growing? Is my market share growing? So in a high growth market, these should be the parameters. In a low growth market, there is no scope of growth. So what is the scope? Whatever sales I can do, I'm going to generate maximum profit from it. So in a low growth market, a lot of focus is given on keeping the cost to the minimum possible extent so that the maximization of profits can be done. Correct? So for example, with Maggi, in Maggi, if it is a cash cow, then they'll make sure that the production cost will be as low as possible so that they'll reap the maximum possible profits. Okay. So if a company also has a cash cow and a star, what do? You try to generate as much as profits in the cash cow and try to invest into the star, because a star has potential, correct? A star is not at its peak of success. It still has potential. We have all learned about the product life cycle. Do you remember that? Introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. Do you remember the product life cycle? Yeah. Okay. Now, loosely based, tell me, where does a dog stand? Introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. Where does a dog stand? Very good. Decline. Where does a cash cow stand? Very good. Maturity. Where does a star stand? Introduction and growth. Very good. Correct. A question mark I don't think can be categorized. So therefore, all the profit from this cash cow has to be reaped back into the star, which is at its growth and introduction stage. Correct? Okay, good to go. Just a second. We have more 15 minutes. How to read a BCG matrix. I think I've explained in detail what is a dog, a cash cow, a star, and a question mark, but we have already discussed this. So let's get back to the textbook. Let's see what they have for us. Yeah, okay. Now the use and implementation is given, and then there's an example. Example I think we'll do after the break. I just want you to go through with the use and implementation. Most of it we have already discussed, but please have a look. Okay, just a second. Yeah. The use and the importance of it in business. Okay, sorry, this is too soon. Okay, can everybody see clearly? Okay, please start. If you have any question, please ask. Absolutely. So as I mentioned, let's say we take the example of Nestle. So Nestle has different products, like it has a milk powder, it has iced tea, there's Maggi. So iced tea may not be as successful as its Maggi. So iced tea could be a question mark or a dog. Definitely we can rate our own products against the BCG. Any other question? So as I explained, for a high growth like star and question mark, our focus should be how much we're growing, revenue wise, profit wise, market share wise, customer satisfaction wise. Whereas in cash cows, we should make sure that we can generate maximum possible cash by taking maximum possible profit with the lowest of cost. So focused here is taken on cost control. Are we good to go? Have you completed? Great, great. Right. So that ends our discussion, theoretical discussion about BCG. Okay. There's a nice question that I wanted to solve, that we will solve, but I think after the break. Okay. So that leads us to our first break of our first class. Just a second. After that, we'll do activity 2. In today's agenda, we'll finish Porter strategies, the modern, the 6 capitals, and we can also start with a bit of chapter 2. Okay. So, okay. Welcome back. Let's start. Yes. Great. Okay. So we, what was the last concept we did? Last concept we did was correct. Let's go on to a question on that. I'll share my screen and you can read it. So up here, you can see DF company has 3 divisions. So as you asked, we can have an example where there are departments of the same company, a restaurant, a pub, and a casino. It is operating in an economy where growth rates are more than 5%, right? You have been given about all the 3 levels, that is restaurant, okay, pubs, and casino, okay. We have also been given DEF's performance and the market leader's performance, correct? And we have been given about information about the market sector, okay. Now BCG is constructed into 2 parts. First is the growth of the market, and second is the relative market share, correct? Now check out this question, and can you all tell me how can we find out growth of the market from this question? Just read it well and tell me how can we find out growth of the market? Sorry. Ladies and all the data is already given to us. Any guess how do we find out the growth of the market? Okay, pretty simple. The current is given to you, 3-year forecast is given to you, right? If the growth, they have been saying that where growth of more than 5% is considered to be above average. So if it is more than 5%, we can consider it high growth. If it is less than 5%, we can consider it low growth, correct? So we have the current as well as the 3-year forecast. From that, we can find out a market growth. Can you tell me how do we find out a relative market share? How can we find out a relative market share? Very good. So how do we calculate it? what we can do is we can find out our share divided by the total market sector and market leader share divided by total market sector, and then the comparison. Or what we can directly do is our company share divided by the market leader share, correct? In this way, we can get the relative market share, right? Are we clear how to calculate? Market growth is comparing with the 3-year forecast. And if it is more than 5%, it is high. If it is less than 5%, it is low. And for a relative market share, we're going to divide our company divided by the market leader, right? So for all three of them, I want you to put in whether they are cash cows, dogs, question marks, or stars. Is the question clear? What about others? Dheeraj, Tanveer, Vishal. Question is clear? I can't get a yes or no. Dheeraj, Vishal, waiting for you. Okay. Dheeraj? Okay. Others, you can start. I'll just move the cursor. Yeah. Great. Dheeraj just said yes. So Dheeraj, please start. If you face any difficulty, please let me know. Great. Okay, so we received from Tanveer and Dheeraj. What about who's missing? Gurjeet and Vishal. Okay, Tanveer, you've just said about restaurants. What about pubs and casinos? Restaurant and casino as cash cow. Okay. Okay, perfect. So let's come up with the answers. First is a restaurant. A restaurant, we can say that the growth is from 10 to 100 to 10 350, which is only 150. 150 divided by 10 to 100. So how much is the growth you got? The growth rate is only 1.5%, which makes it a low growth rate or a high growth rate. A low one, correct? And if it is a low one, in this, how much is our market share? Our market share is 95 divided by market leader being 295. Okay. So 95 divided by 295, which is only, I think, 0.3%, correct? Which is only 30%, which is not a high share as compared to the market leader. So in a low growth market, we are also at the low end, which makes us a dog, correct? So the restaurants are dog. Did everybody get this right? Let's see, restaurant is a dog. We have one answer. Then restaurant. Okay, Gurjeet, you've said restaurant is a cash cow. Did you get why it is a dog? Yeah, great. Next one. Next one, we have a pub. Pub has 9500 to 9550. Again, looks like a small growth market. So again, the growth I can say is low. Whereas if you see the market share, we have about 425 and the market leader also has 425. So we have one, we are same as the market leader. We are the market leader. So what does this make us? In terms of pubs, we are cash cows. That's correct. Very good. And in terms of casino, we have a growth rate of 150 to 195, which is 30%, which is a significant growth. And in this, we are about 150 divided by 250. So we're about 60% of it. Okay. Now, how do we decide whether our relative market share is high or low? If it is closer to the market leader, our relative market share is high. If it is 60% or 30%, we can say that our relative market share is medium to low. So in this case, I can call it about medium. Okay. So in a very fast growing rate, we're not growing as fast as our market leader. What does this make us? Question mark, correct? If this was about 90% or probably 1, then it could have been a star, correct? Because the market is growing very fast. But if it is only 60%, we need to take efforts to becoming a star, which makes us currently only question mark. Everybody clear? Gurjeet, Dheeraj, Tanveer, any question? Great, let's go ahead. Now, next one is, so how do we explain these answers? Okay, now what we say is, first of all, we explain what is a market growth, what is a relative market share, therefore what is our conclusion. So if it is a dog, we should focus on either discarding or converting into a cash cow. If it is a cash cow, we should focus on maximum profit generation and cost control. If it is a question mark, we should take efforts and analyze what we are going wrong so as to convert them into a star, right? Okay, now Porter's generic strategies. You might have done these. Now, according to Porter's generic strategies, what Porter means is that every business can either take side of being a cost leader or being a differentiated model. What do I mean by this? In a cost leader format, efforts will be taken to maximize the efficiency to minimize the cost in the market. So let's say it is a textile industry. We know that more or less out of the final product, 60% goes into costs, correct? If you're a cost leader, you will try to keep your cost below 60%. So lowest cost you have, let's say 45%, 42%, you will try to keep your costs in the lowest possible control, correct? Well, how can you keep the cost lowest possible without compromising the quality? You have to make sure that you're very, very efficient. You cannot have any wastages, any defects, any reworks, correct? Highest efficiency can make your cost leader without compromising with the quality. What are some of the techniques to do it? We can have Kaizen, we can have Six Sigma, we can have benchmarking. All of these will come in the coming chapters. So I won't explain a lot about this. How do we achieve this? Economies of scale. Can anybody tell me economies of scale? What do we mean by economies of scale? Higher the volume, lower the allocated cost advantage compared to the competition, correct? So by increasing the volume, you try to gain the advantage of volume and negotiate to keep the price lower. That you can do. Second is innovation. And third is cheaper raw materials. Okay, innovation, I have an example. A few years back, airlines in America decided, this is a real life example. Sorry, airlines in America cut down only onions provided extra in the sandwiches. This is a real life example. And they saved some millions of dollars in savings. Okay. So just simple techniques to cut down on cost. We have two examples. One is Amazon and one is McDonald's. Both of these, yeah, sure. Sorry. So innovation, we can try out simple techniques to save the cost. A few years back, American Airlines, US Airlines, completely prohibited or completely banned provision of, if I remember correctly, provision of onion in the sandwiches, extra onion in the sandwiches. With this, they saved millions of dollars. Okay, so simple techniques lead to cost cutting. That's what I wanted to point out. And how does Amazon or McDonald's do so? Amazon and McDonald's have a large number of scope. They have a large scale of operations. Amazon, for example, itself in a country provides a varied type of products reaching out to almost many parts of the country. In this way, they can achieve economies of scale. Same is the case with McDonald's. Okay. Okay. Next part is differentiation. In terms of differentiation, your product can be unique in the way your pricing is done, or your quality, or the way you provide your service, or the features. Okay, what does this mean? Let's say you walk into two Audi showrooms. You might like one showroom better than the other. The cars are the same, the interiors are the same, but you find that the courtesy of people who sell the cars are much better in store A as compared to store B. That is differentiation. Both chains are of Audi itself, but the service given is different. Or it could be pricing. Again, an example is MI or Chinese phones. Their pricing is much lower with similar features of other phones. Quality could be a good differentiator, correct? Let's say, for example, in a city like Pune, there are so many fast food joints. But having said that, let's say a pav bhaji joint. There could be a joint which attracts more customers as compared to a same joint in the other lane with the same product. Why? Because of good quality. Or another example could be pani puri joints, correct? Same, good quality. And last is features. You could have distinguishing features that attract the customers. Now, this could be examples where you are a differentiating product in a generic market. It could also be in differentiator that people create niche markets for themselves. Okay, for example, Apple is a highly distinguished product from other phone markets. Apple has high pricing because they serve to a particular class of the citizens. They know that a particular class of public only can afford it. And secondly, do you know why many celebrities have iPhones? Apart from the status quo, do you know any other reason why many celebrities and public figures have iPhones? Or Apple phones? Exactly. Good, Dheeraj. So Apple has one of the best security systems in the world, and it is very difficult to hack or get through Apple security systems. Okay, this is a very strong distinguishing factor in favor of Apple. Now, ACCA. Out of the competitive courses in India, ACCA, do you think it's a general product or it has created a niche market for itself? Exactly. As far as I think, ACCA is a niche market. Okay. So we do have many Indian professional courses, but this is a niche market that has been carved because when I became a chartered accountant in 2019, 18, 19, I did not know about ACCA. It has blossomed in the last 2, 3 years. So back then, with CA, I do not have many opportunities to go to abroad countries, but with ACCA, we do. So that is a niche market for Indian customers. Third is maternity clothes, also a highly booming market. Okay, so maternity clothes. Would this be a niche or a general category? Again, a niche, very good, because textile industry is a general category. Out of that, it is a niche catering to specific needs. Another example is sports goods or sportsman wears. Again, a niche category. Okay. So instead of generally going into the jeans, shirts, skirts category, you can carve a niche for yourself and get differentiated in the market, right? So Porter says that don't do a mix of both. You either choose to be a cost leader or you choose to be a differentiator, right? That's about it for generic strategies. Just have a look at this. I think most of the content is covered. Just have a look. I'll go ahead with the next part. Just have a look at the table. Good to go? Great. Balance scorecard is given in detail in chapter 12, which is when we are going to discuss it, not now. Okay, so there's one last concept remaining in this chapter, which is integrated reporting. And then we're done with this chapter. Okay, so let's check out integrated reporting. What do we mean by integrated reporting? Okay, so what happened is initially the business used to only present balance sheet, P&L, cash flow, and notes to accounts, and a statement of changes in equity in the recent times, which majorly catered the interest of shareholders. Correct. While it was necessary to keep shareholders happy, a business is also heavily reliant on other stakeholders like suppliers, customers, government, local community. So it became necessary to show them that they also provide various types of capital to the company. It is not just shareholders who provide capital, that is a major source of capital. Along with that, there are other stakeholders who also give capital. And we have to show how well we are using their capital. Okay. So therefore, companies started to report a comprehensive report, which is called as integrated report, to show how they are creating value from the capital given to them, how they are appreciating the capital given to them. Correct. Rather than focusing on the narrow objectives of finance, we are focusing on long-term value creation. So what are the 6 types of capital given to us? First is the obvious one, which is financial, which could be through equity, through debt, through loans, through preference shares, correct? This is the one we're thankful to the equity and the debt holders. And we are showing them how a company is progressing, how we are repaying the loans, giving dividend on equity, giving growth on the equity, so on and so forth, right? Manufactured capital. Now, manufactured capital is all the equipments we have which enable us to produce goods and services. If we didn't have this plant, this machinery, this equipment, infrastructure, we wouldn't have been able to run our business. So manufactured capital is how well we take care of our machines, how well we maintain them, update them, so on and so forth. Third, and a very underrated and undervalued capital is human capital. Without the human efforts, workers in operational level, managers in tactical level, directors at the strategic level, which think for the company, guide the company, take decisions for the company, toil for the company, we wouldn't have companies which are successful, right? So this would include support to the organization's values, ability to understand strategies, and loyalty of motivations for improvements and innovation, right? Then is the intellectual. The intellectual is where we develop patents, royalties, copyrights, and use them to get an advantage over our competitors. Natural is here where our community and our society at large helps the company in a big way because they allow them to use land, water, then the minerals, the soil, the forest reserves. And for that, the company has to do justice to their use, not waste them, as well as do some benefits to the society at large. Last but very important is the social. Your engagement and your relationship with not just your shareholders, but your customers, your government, your suppliers, so on and so forth. That is only when the company will be able to sustain the long term. Okay. So in this way, integrated reporting helps us to maintain relations with all the stakeholders, focus on financial and non-financial goals, and make sure that you show your stakeholders that you're creating value for the long term, not just the short term. That's pretty much it. Can I go ahead? Are we good? Good. Okay. Now, one more thing. If you have given earlier papers of ACCA, you would know that we have technical articles on the ACCA website. Okay. As in when I mention a technical article to you, technical article is basically more information about the given topic. I want you to go through it and ask me any questions that you have. Okay. So please keep that in mind. If I forget to mention one now and then, please remind me. Okay. Right. So we'll continue for about half an hour more because this is on the ACCA website. This is the first lecture. So continue about half an hour more and then we'll stop. I'll show you how technical articles are accessed. Just a second. And log in and I'll show you. Right. So see, first is you Google ACCA Global, right? In that, you can just search your technical articles. Okay, that'll lead you to the page. On the second page, we have APM technical articles. You can just go here. Thereby, see, as you can see, you have technical articles on part A, which we are currently studying. So in this chapter, we've already done BCG, Boston Consultancy Group, right? You open this, you can get further information about the Bcg Matrix. Okay. Then in this section, which is the first 3 chapters, you can read performance indicators and CSF, which is from second chapter. So I'm already telling you to cover these. Then we have sustainability and performance management, which is more or less in all 3 chapters. And the Porter's 5 forces model, which is in third chapter. So for all of these sections, even if I forget, once a section is done or while the chapters are going on, you can just have a read on all of the technical articles. We have 5 sections, all of these have been given. Okay. They'll help a lot for your concept clarity. Plus, it has been noted that at times questions have also been asked from the technical articles. Okay. So be careful. Just have a read at them. Right. All right. Let's go ahead. Let me just take you to the second chapter PPT and we'll start. So far, everybody, is my pace okay? Explanation okay? This is our first interaction. So is there any immediate change or suggestion you want to make? Great. Okay. Others? Dheeraj? Tanveer? All good? Sounds good. Forgive my health. It'll be better in a day or two. Now, next chapter is performance hierarchy. So what are we going to study in this chapter? First concept that we're going to study is the mission statements of companies. Okay, mission statements of companies have been, and then we're going to study CSF and KPI. I don't know if you have heard about CSF and KPI, but CSF and KPI are very, very integral in the APM syllabus. So though they are at the starting of the syllabus, they're going to pretty much be used throughout the syllabus and you will understand once we start doing questions. So pay attention, okay? Yeah. First is the mission statement. Okay. What is a mission statement? A mission statement is simply one which gives you idea about what is the core work of the company. What is exactly the nature of the business of the company? If it is Adidas, they are into specialization of sports merchandise. If it is McDonald's, they are into making fast food like burgers, mainly burgers, right? If it is Tata Motors, as I said, they are into automobiles. So what is the nature of the business? What is their identity? What do they want to be known for? And what is the area where they are better than their competitors? So as I said, what is that they differentiate them? That is also put in the mission statement. Let's say their price, their quality, their customer service, their efficiency of giving products on time, whatever it could be. So what is their area of competitive advantage? That is what makes a mission statement. Okay. Now, I have 3 mission statements in front of you, which are quite simple to understand, I feel. Okay. So I can guarantee you know all these 3 companies. Okay. I want you to guess whether you can find out which company is it. Okay. I want you to guess all the 3 companies. Let's start with the first one. Inspire and nurture the human spirit, 1 person, 1 cup, and 1 neighborhood at a time. Can you guess the company? I can give you a hint. It's an international company. From the mission statement, we want to find out who is the company. Sorry. Nobody? No clue? Okay, Starbucks is a guess. What else? No clue. Okay. Then we an international company. No idea. Okay. See, 1 cup most likely it will be about coffee, as she said. And this is about Starbucks, yes. So though the mission is a bit long and it doesn't directly relate to coffee. Now, as we are thinking about it, neighborhood, 1 cup, enlightening the human spirit. So they're talking about the Starbucks shape. Okay. Next one. To unlock the potential of human creativity by giving, by giving 1 million creative artists the opportunity to live off their art and billions of fans the opportunity to enjoy and be inspired by it. Okay, I'll give you a hint. This mission statement is about a music platform. Can you guess which is it? It's about a music platform. Amazon, nice guess. What else? Sorry. Spotify, okay. And we Spotify is correct. Actually, Spotify was easier to guess because Spotify often markets in its ads that it is providing a platform where people can do group sessions and do collaborative music, correct? And also Spotify promotes a lot of podcasts and new artists, correct? So it's definitely Spotify. Third one, I hope everybody will get. Organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. Yes, Wikipedia was a close guess, but obviously Google. Okay, the world's information and making it universally accessible. Such a heavy task only Google can do, right? So as you can see, while some mission statements make it difficult to decipher, some are more obvious. But broadly, mission statements give you an idea about what the company at its core intends to do, right? Now, see, another, how can you say that they show a competitive advantage? Now, Wikipedia does not have information about almost every topic which is useful to everybody. Wikipedia has its limitations, but Google has much wider scope than Wikipedia. That is a competitive advantage of Google, right? In this way, you can show your competitive advantage. Okay. Now, what could be the objective of our mission statements? To provide clarity to all the employees, to give them a direction, help them to achieve their goals, evaluate performance if the company is deviating anywhere, bring them back to their core objective, and pros and cons. Okay, pros and cons, we have to get back to the textbook for them. Yes. So just have a read at the pros and cons. Not much to explain here. Just have a read, then we'll go ahead. Sure, we can do that. What all do you want? Where we can understand first about the subject, okay, how the exam is, objective, subjective practice, okay, and how the marks have been distributed around the different topics. Definitely we can. So what we'll do is, Dheeraj, we'll finish off this concept about mission, and then I can explain you all of these points. That will be all for today. Would that work? Okay. Are we done with this part, everybody? Great. Okay. Now, another point we need to understand is hierarchy of objectives. Okay. So first add the strategic objectives. These are converted into the business goals. The business goals are converted into operational level goals and then the individual goals. So first we have a target of, let's say, increasing our revenue by 10% over the next year. How do we implement that in business? That is a tactical level job. Thus, we need to increase our production by these levels. We need to market our product higher. That is the operational work. And then what is the role of each individual in it? That is the individual objectives, correct? For lower levels, the time span is lower. For strategic level, there are more broader plans, right? We have already seen, right? All right, that brings us an end to the mission part. Are we clear with the mission part, everybody? Good to go? Sounds good. Okay. Dheeraj, can you repost your message so that I can understand what all you want? I generally prefer not to do that because you don't know much about the subject, but definitely if you want, we can keep it at the introduction. Okay, I think I've got it. Where we can first understand about the subject. Okay, how is the exam? Yeah. So first about the subject, right? So advanced performance management is crucial for people who are more into the operations area or the costing area. Okay, it is generally very important for people who are in the manager level or who are having a mission to promote to the director's level. Okay, at the core of it, the subject entails of managing all the performance in the company, right? Every work, every product, every service given in the company excuse me, is all aimed to fulfill a strategic objective. Our objectives could be to expand into new markets, to expand into new products, to grow our customer base, to increase our market share, to make our shareholders more happy, various things. How are our actual practices? How are the actual on ground work performance leading to fulfilling our objectives? That is what APM is mainly about. It. So first in APM, we need to understand whether the performance that we do is aligned to our corporate strategy. Obviously, whenever we measure this, there are going to be some loopholes or gaps or inefficiencies. In order to remove these inefficiencies, APM suggests many ways of improvement, like BCG, for example, or benchmarking, Kaizen costing, Six Sigma, just in time, so on and so forth. So there are many techniques which are given once you measure the performance and once you do, okay, this is where we start, this is where we need to go. APM suggests ways in order to improve the performance. That is a broad understanding about the subject, right? How is the exam? APM is a complete case study paper. Okay, so if you have already given any of the professional papers, you would be aware of the paper format. If you have not, then the paper format is generally 3 case studies. All of them are compulsory. Okay, one case study, first one is for 50 marks, and the rest 2 are for 25 marks, making it a 100 marks paper. I believe the time duration is 3 hours 15 minutes. The 15 minutes are for reading the questions, and then 3 hours for writing it. Due to the pandemic, you will have the format as either computer-based or remote-based. In remote-based, you can have the facility of writing the exam at your own home. In computer-based, you can write the exam going to the center, both of which will be with the help of a online CBE platform, which is a platform where you can write the answers. As we approach the exam, I'm going to definitely encourage you to write as many answers on the CB platform as necessary, because when we write our normal papers, we have written them on pen and paper. So we're not used to the CB platform. So it's very essential to get acquainted to the CB platform, right? It's going to be completely subjective. Nothing is objective. The good thing about APM is that there are case studies. So once we understand the basic concepts, we do not need to mug up everything. The entire data about that company will be given to you in the case study, right? You just have to apply the case study in your answer. So all the information about the company will be right there. You just have to find the right bits from the right places, join with the dots and put your answer. Okay, so it will be completely case study based. I've already told you how the marks have been distributed. Now, as far as the sections are concerned, just a second. We have 5 sections in APM. I think we have the technical articles already. Right. The first section is about the general strategic plan. This section is very important as far as our 25 markers go, and also a part of it come in our 50 marker questions. Section B is relatively lesser important, risk and uncertainty. But what section B has is what kind of risk component a company can take and how it can address the threats to what we care. Third section is about how performance management information can be developed and the impact of technology. In simple words, how can we be smarter using grids and tables and pie charts instead of just dry data in order to make our data more interactive, to help management take quicker decisions and to understand and analyze our internal and external factors better. This is also relatively a lesser important section, but this section is important in a way. What they've started to do in APM is that in one of the 25 marker questions generally, they put a pie chart or a histogram, and they ask you to analyze the data given the pie chart or histogram or graph. So while the theory about this is not that important, you should know how to implement, how to read a pie chart, how to read a histogram, so on and so forth, how to read a normal distribution curve. Okay, so these things are important from section C, not so much the theory. Going ahead with chapter D. Chapter D is absolutely essential and one of the section which is the core of APM. So almost all the essential concepts of APM, a large chunk of it, I can say about 60% of it, is in chapter D, right? So chapter D, a couple of important chapters are the transfer pricing for sure. Then we have EVA, We have how the quality systems will be managed. So chapter D is very, very important for 25 as well as 50 marker questions. Last one is the chapter E, generally also very important. It has corporate failure matrix. Corporate failure is how does company predict corporate failure in advance, and can they save companies which have signs of corporate failure? Generally asked for 25 marker questions, also could be asked for 50, not generally for 50 marker, but yes, for 25 markers. So to sum it up, A, D and E are important. B and C are given lesser weightage. Okay. At the beginning of your textbook, I hope it has here. No, practice kit will be given. There is a chart summarizing the questions asked in recent exams out of all 5 sections. Let's see if the ebook has it. Does it answer other questions, Neeraj? Any more? I completely agree. I'm glad you asked it. So this is the last question, right? Yes. So as you can see, the first part is this is your exam kit. Okay, no problem. This is your exam kit. So part A, you have some 9 questions, right? Out of which, let's say, half of them we can solve in here, half of them you can solve at home. Part B has only 4 or 5 questions because, as I told you, this is a lesser R section. Part C has about 15 to 27. So it has about 12 questions. Part C, I told you that it is lesser asked, but in the recent attempts, it may be asked more. So we do need to pay some attention. Also, as I told you, the visual aids are generally asked in exams. So that is where part C comes into the place. Part D, very important. We have questions starting from 28 to 38. That's all. So they've clubbed some questions of part C and D. They've mixed some chapters of C and D. That is why they have more questions in C. And then they've taken some chapters of section D in section C itself. Okay. So they have revised this for this attempt. So we need to consider both C and D as well important. Okay. As I told you now, D message chapters have been put up in C. So please remember, only B has lesser questions, but we need to focus on both C as well as D. Right. And the last is the 50 marker questions. Let me see where is section E. Section E, they have not given any questions up front. So section E, let me check and get back to you. Okay. The 50 marker questions, as I told you, are pretty much on the entire syllabus. Okay. Section B has less coverage. All of them have more or less coverage. All the concepts are merged into 50 marker questions. These are 4 mocks. A bunch of them we'll do in the class. Okay. Now, see. We'll have the distribution somewhere here. Yeah. See, as you can see, this is the first section, and they have given you information till September 21 exam. Okay. Now you can see the frequency at which the questions come. So as you can see, question A as well as question B. Question A is a 50 mark question. These are generally asked from part A, generally important. Then the performance management, you can see that one of the questions come. So generally it could be upon the visual aids, correct? Section C, as you can see, so here it is mentioned, just a second, performance measurement systems and design. So here they have clubbed. Takes a bit of a time to upload. Part C is strategic performance management. And performance management and development and technology. The technology part that I told you, they have already clubbed in section part B. Okay, so a couple of changes have been made in current year. The part B has technology questions, so therefore the visual aids part is coming in part B. Only that is relevant. The theory is not much relevant. Then a bunch of chapters of D have been put in part C. So as I told you, both C and D are important from your attempt because the chapters have been reshuffled. So from part B, you have questions of histogram, graphs, as I told you earlier. in the recent attempts, as I have told you, there is a question using these visual aids in every attempt. So you have to understand how to interpret these visual aids. Okay, that was rather important. I think I've gone ahead. Yeah. Yeah. So part B, we said the visual aids question generally come, right? We have C and D, which mostly covers all the charts. In December 18 and September 18, there were lesser questions, but again, some of the other chapter has it. Okay. So generally one of the most important. And the last two, which is of section E, also has one of the question. Okay. So basically in our revised format, section A, section C, section D, and section E are generally where the content is asked. Out of section B, again, I repeat, do not have theory, but you do have how to understand the graphs and the pie charts and the bar diagrams, so on and so forth. As you can see, section question A is about a 50 marker. You can spread out A through all the sections, except E, as I told you. E does not have section 50 marker. E has only 25 marker. E matlab corporate failure wala section. Others, that is section A, B, C, D, all of them have a bunch of the 50 markers. Okay. Yeah, great. Right. Everybody, did we get confused over the sections or are you clear? Tanveer and Gurjeet? Are we clear over the sections? Yeah, I'll tell you that. Okay. So how can you practice the case studies? Now, what we generally do in classes, just a second. See, now let's say we pick up CRC question. Okay. Now CRC's question I will discuss in class. We will discuss a technique of how we will need to think for this question. We will discuss the answer together. The answers are given at the back of the exam paper. Okay. And let's say in this format, we can discuss 2 or 3 at home. 2 or 3, I will give you as a home assignment. I will ask you to send their answers by the weekend. So let's say tomorrow we discuss 2, 3, and 4 in class. 5 and 6 I give you for homework. I expect you to solve the answers and give it to me by the weekend, that is by next Saturday. We'll check them in class and it will continue. SM. Now, why this process is necessary also I'll tell you. You do have model answers at the back, but from my experience, model answers are written with a lot of leisure and time, which are nearly perfect. While in exam, you can't be expected to write to such level. That's why it's necessary to discuss in class. Did that answer your question? Yes, great. No problem. Any more questions? I'm glad we discussed this. Any more questions? Okay, now what I'll do is I'll try to show you the CB platform as well, so that once the first practice question starts, you can directly start on the CB platform itself. Okay, just give me a second. Okay, there is some issue with the technical article loading. Okay, what you can do is just, with the CB platform, what you can do is just explore at home. If you don't get by tomorrow, we'll check it out again. Okay, so from our first home assignment itself, I would recommend you to, from our first home assignment itself, I would recommend you to use CB platforms right away. Your question is, what do we use PP platform for? Okay, PPP platform is for the ebook, that is the study text as well as the exam kit. So both the study text and exam kit, if you don't buy physical copies, you can access from the PPP platform. Correct? Yeah. Anything more? Perfect. So I think we can call it a day today. Thank you for cooperating. And yes, you can view your ebook there. Yes. And thank you for answering, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow at 3. Good day. Yes, from VG, if you need any help, we have Sandeep sir's number in the group. You can text him. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.